Here we go.
You're my music, but you tear me to pieces. So where does it come from? The scene that keeps playing on repeat ignores the rule of thumb.
1, 2, 3, boom. Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to Control Talk Now, your smart buildings video cast and podcast for the week ending March 25th. 2017. This is episode 260. That's right, folks. Episode 260 of Control Talk Now. And I am joined, as usual, by the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers, the control man, genius, all-around good guy, athlete, man about town from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Oh, thank you very much, Eric. But we better edit that little down, tone that down a little bit. The genius part, we'll go with
There are no edits. There are no edits, Kenny. You know that. It's episode 260. You know there are no edits unless
260. My goodness, those numbers are growing. I remember when we broke 200. We were down there at the Johnson meeting down there in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
100. I mean, but we're approaching 300. So it just those tend to indicate 7-week periods. So you take 260 times 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Or 7 days, and that's how many years we've been doing this. But
well, hang on real quick. I got to give. I'm gonna beat you to the punch. I'm gonna give a shout out to Phil Zito.
Okay.
And because Phil has told me that he is going to surpass us. He's going to do more than we are. And if you haven't checked Phil out, he's worth checking out. He does some really, really good stuff. He's a trainer and just a great educator. So Phil Zito's a guy that, but watch out because he says he's going to catch us. So Phil, we're going to keep moving ahead as fast as we can.
You better eat your Wheaties and take your vitamins because work with Eric. He's an engineer. He doesn't take breaks.
Oh, listen.
Rain or shine, we're on doing the Control Talk now. That's all there is to it.
Sideboards, baby. Who you got some shout outs this week, Kenny?
We sure do. We got some birthdays. CP Patrons, happy birthday, Brandon Jaskett. Happy birthday, Christy Flippen, who used to be with Niagara and then CCI. She has a new position. And we have Hans Kranz, Backman from Germany. One of our Hall of Fame recipients reached out and said he hopes we're doing well. So thank you, Hans.
Oh, thanks, Hans. Appreciate it. He was, I would call him the father of BACnet, right?
Yeah. Well, he was on the European side. He authored, many of the hard, heavy lifting, and he's truly dedicated. He's retired but not retired. He's keeping us updated on some of the he came up with a new PowerPoint that he gave to the German Builders Federation and talking about the smart, intelligent, connected building, which kind of gives us a prelude to one of our guests this week. Or the only guest, but the big guest.
Well, it is a fantastic guest. And Kenny, I tell you, let's not mess around. Let's do something again different. Let's bring our guest on right away, and then we'll cover the rest of the stuff afterwards. What do you say?
I'd love to, Eric. We have a very exciting guest with us today. It's the founder and CEO of Realcomm Conference Group, Mr. Jim Young. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Welcome,
hey,
Jim.
Guys. How are you? Great to see you.
Oh, man, it's great to have you here, Jim. I tell you what, Kenny and I have been waiting for this day for a while. You're one of our favorite folks. And for our listeners out there, most of our Control Trends community knows who Jim Young is, Howard Berger, Lisa Young, and who Realcomm Ibicon is. But for some of them who might not, tell them about the organization and what you guys are up to.
Well, the good news, guys, is that we're celebrating 20 years. This will be the 20th anniversary that we've been trying to figure out how real estate deals with technology, automation, and innovation. And I've got just the most incredible team. Most of them have been with us 15, 20 years, so it's the same people. The mission statement hasn't changed in 20 years. It's travel the world, look for best practices, take technology, lay it down on top of these very inefficient buildings, make them more productive, make them more efficient, save energy, make them more engaging. And honestly, things that we've been talking about for 15, 20 years are finally coming true. And it took a long time, but I think the cat's out of the bag. The train has left the station, if you will. And there's no turning back. No turning back.
No,
Oh, for sure.
agreed with
Yeah.
that, Jim. And I think for, as one of my teachers used to say, nothing's obvious to the uninformed. And when I think about conferences to go to get informed, I mean, there are a lot of great ones that are sort of vendor specific, but I think, Realcomm Ibicon to me is one of the few conferences you can come, see what's happening now, see what's going to be happening in the future, but also, I mean, if you're a vendor or if you're a systems integrator, if you're a distributor like we are, it's one of the few places you can go and your customers are there because they are trying to get educated and they are also telling vendors and distributors and integrators what they need and what they want.
Well, that was by design. Okay, I mean, I'd like to think that we were, we looked at the industry and we said, what is it going to take to get true adoption, accelerated adoption? And we came to the conclusion that we needed to have the whole ecosystem there. So we needed the end user, the person who owned or operated the building. We needed to have the integrator there. We needed to have the manufacturer there. In some cases, or many cases, service providers like CBRE and JLL, we needed to have there. And if you each went to 5 different conferences, you would not be collaborating at the same mathematical speed. So if you're all in a room and you're getting things figured out, things happen faster. And that's actually worked very well. Now, the one common theme amongst all the attendees is they are the early adopters. They are the innovators. So last year, I think we had about 1,700 people. Can you imagine what happens when you have 1,700 people from around the world who are focused on moving forward as fast as they can? No tire kickers, no laggards. And I think that's really been the magic of our community.
Well, I certainly agree with that. I think our first experience is, I remember very well because in terms of the messages, it was like prophetic. You were telling us about trends, our control trends, our whole modus operandi is to follow what's going to impact our industry. And we found Realcomm to be the source of all the most important trends regarding economic, building, automation and management, services. And like Eric said, it was probably the strongest crux of networking that we've ever participated in.
Yeah, and it's getting stronger, which is really encouraging because that tells me that we're out of the early adopter stage and possibly moving to early majority. Where you get those people who are in the garages and trying things, and we're definitely out of the innovator stage, and I would call we're entering the late innovator stage, and then the next phase is early majority, the first phase of early majority, and that's when all the people have been kind of hesitant, start saying, all right, maybe I guess I need to consider this. So just going back to your statement about keeping an eye or where we started to talk about this stuff, my background was IT. I was not a buildings guy when I started. I sold very complex computer systems, mini computers at the time, then went to distributed PC networks. So I grew up on networking and enterprise computing. So when I got into the real estate industry, I'm going, where are all the IP addresses and why isn't this building on a standard network as opposed to 15 different protocols? So when I wrote that article in 2002 called Connecting Buildings and Processes to the Internet, that'd be about 16 years ago, everybody said, wow, it's, you're so, visionary. I said, no, I just came from an industry that, really had computer connectivity figured out. And when I look at a light in a ceiling, it looks to me like a printer. It needs to be connected to the network. And that was the premise from which we started. And then we started going around the world and seeing examples of it. And, and all of a sudden, a couple of people started doing it. We said, all right, yeah, this makes a lot of sense.
Well, Jim, and I tell you what, I think that to me is one of the advantages of history. There's a statement, there's nothing new under the sun, and history repeats itself. And, there might be new stuff under the sun, but history definitely repeats itself. And I think what you guys have done so well, and you just gave a great example of it, is you've seen these changes before in other industries, and now you're seeing it in our industry. And the cycle you're defining about, the early adopter, the fringe, the early adopter, and so on, that curve, that's happened all throughout history. So
the wheel, it happened with the wheel, right?
Yes.
You had so you go, the phases are innovator, the person in the garage who has the vision. They pass it on to the early adopters, and there's 1%, 2% of the people willing to take that kind of a bloody risk. Then you go from the early adopter to the early majority, right?
Right.
The crowd follows. Then you have the late majority, the people who were just really resistant. And then finally you have the laggards, right? And so I would say that we're just about ready to leave the innovator stage and go to the early majority.
Right.
And
I think one of the really interesting things about this trend, Jim, is technology is a piece of it, but Kenny and I see, because we're at the distributor level, we see the products sort of leapfrogging each other a little bit, but the gaps are not that great in terms of the technology. I think one of the trends we're seeing, and I think this is encouraging to maybe a manufacturer that's not moving as quickly as some of these smaller ones. What we're really seeing, and tell me if you're hearing this from the folks too, is it's more about the services now. It's more about understanding how to use the technology. Yeah, and technology is a piece of it, but I think virtually everybody we know has the backbones of the technology. It's just about hearing what the customers need and how you think about it, and issues like cybersecurity. So,
Right.
So you basically, you have a network. Now we have a standard network. We have, smart edge devices everywhere we need. We got operating platforms. We got the application layer. We have just about every piece of technology to put together the most advanced, smart, connected, high performance building campus portfolio in the world. We have now. Will it get better next year? Yes. Will it get better the year after that? Yes. If I had it my way, and I'm jesting a little bit, we could have a 2 to 3 day conference and not talk for 1 minute about a new piece of technology, right? Yeah. Last couple of years we had introduced AI and machine learning and autonomous and immersive. Yeah, we haven't even figured out the last 5 years worth of technology. Now we have a whole new generation of technology, right? We could have a 3 day conference on one thing, and that's change management. Okay.
Well said.
What this really entails is the facility manager, the property manager, the manufacturer's rep, the integrator. The individual has to look in the mirror and say, am I ready for this kind of change? Then that person is part of an organization, usually a department inside that organization. Is my department capable of taking on this project and really rethinking everything on how we operate these buildings? And then, of course, it goes to the whole company, and then the company goes to the industry. So it's really about organizational change. And everybody just has to say, I'm ready to jump on this bandwagon, this IP-based, IP-centric building, the cloud, smart devices, merging our old protocols into new protocols, streamlining things. This is a personal issue. It's no longer a technical issue. We have enough.
Jim, to that, the testament is that the theme you have this year is the acceleration. In other words, in addition to the challenges you just said and the stages we're in, it's not going to get slower. So I think going to the focus of the Realcomm 20 and what you have, what you're presenting to the people that attend. Let's talk a little bit about how they can take advantage of different aspects of the conference. There's an IBCon, there's a pre-con. Just talk a little bit about the actual conference.
Well, it started out as a 1.5 day event 20 years ago. Okay, and we're celebrating our 20th year anniversary. Extremely happy we made it. It's been a very long road, but now it's a 5-day conference. Okay, and the number one piece of advice I give people is, I know we're all busy. I know we think in 140 characters. I know we're responding to 1 million emails, but I almost beg and plead with them to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and really study the program. Okay, so you got Monday. If you're a golfer, we got a bunch of guys now, women who come in on Monday and they golf. Okay, they talk about smart buildings and real estate technology on the golf course. But this year we've turned Monday into sort of like a social activity day, to saying we all work hard. We've been hanging with each other for 20 years. Let's all come in a little early, maybe go have a drink, beer with each other. We've got some VIP events scheduled that night where our advisors are going to race, Maseratis and Lamborghinis. So Monday is kind of the social day this year. Tuesday is what we call pre-conference. That's a big day. We've got the cyber forum in the morning. We got the integrator roundtable. We got the CIO roundtable. We've got the higher education smart campus summit. MIT and Stanford are chairing that. We have the boot camp. We have the COO. We've got, I think, 6 major events that, depending upon who you are, they're designed for it. We got 2 new ones this year. One is the Smart Building Leadership Forum. And we're going to get the 20 people who've been together for the last 20 years fighting the smart building thing. And we're going to put them in a room and we're going to see what's next for the industry. And then we're going to let the general public have at these 20 visionary leaders and ask them any question they want. And then we're also going to look in the construction industry. That's a process we haven't really gone after in the last 20 years, but we're adding that to our ecosystem. The next morning, we are going to have probably one of the best general sessions we've ever had. We've got just some of the most prolific, prominent people in the industry going to be talking about this. Then we go on to great programming all day long. Then we have the Digi Awards. We're adding a new Digi this year. We're going to be giving a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Nice.
And we're developing the criteria for that. These are going to be the people who got big scars on their back, never gave up, really, really made a difference in this industry. And I think we're going to give out 20 of them, which is a lot, but it's kind of representative, one for every year. We've been doing this for the last 20 years.
Awesome.
Right.
Thursday morning, we start with our best practice showcase. 40 to 50 smartest buildings in the world come together in one room and talk about them. We finish the day with programming. And then Friday, we're doing innovation tours. So we're going to be putting people on buses and shipping them over to Infocom so they can see the most state-of-the-art digital signage. We've got an innovation tour. The city of Las Vegas has got an innovation center. And we're going to get into the back room of the MGM, I believe the MGM Hotel. So we got some great tours coming up. So, and not everybody's going to stay for 5 days, but study the program, see what fits for you. We work real hard to pull this all off and get everything in a 5-day period, but you can't get your master's degree anywhere else like this.
I agree 100%. And I tell you what, I've applauded it. Not only do you have an incredible curriculum, but like anybody in the business has a reason to be there. From the integrators. I know now we've got people getting excited already. And the event is being held at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas, which isn't, that's top shelf. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's a great location. And then
Kenny, along that point, and Jim, this is important because we've been telling our Control Trends community what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But what you learn in Vegas, you can take home and make money on.
Well, it was an intentional decision. We sat in our strategy meetings and we said, all right, 20 years, holy cow, how do we make it? We need to take a deep breath and relax a little bit. We can relax for 5 minutes. And we need to celebrate. This has been a great journey. Forget the buildings, forget the technology. I've made great friends. I've got career-long people that I've worked with now. It's a community. So we said, let's go to a place that's known for, it's celebrating, and Vegas is it. And if you've ever been to the Cosmopolitan, it's the new Main and Main in Vegas. It's the newest, greatest complex. Nobody will be disappointed. The energy level is going to be phenomenal. And in addition to getting smarter, helping each other get smarter, we're going to have some fun.
Right.
And you're offering a super opportunity. We have an early bird rate that expires the 1st of May. So I think all our listeners out there really need to take to heart what Jim's saying here. And it is the consummate event of the year, involving the dissemination of technical and innovation information in our industry, period.
Well, yeah, and it's not just the technical side, it's the business side as well. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Why do I want a smart building? Yeah.
Right. And what I would say, and I want to sort of break down some of the groups in the Control Trends community and sort of speak directly to why I think you should be there. So the first thing that, Ken and I have been talking about for a while is that you have to be relevant. People have so many choices. You have to be relevant. And one of the ways to be relevant is you have to be visible. And this is a great place to be visible. And if you are a consulting engineer, this is where you can go find clients. You can hear what the top level people in real estate are asking for, their understanding. And the same thing if you're a systems integrator, if you're a distributor. We don't see many distributors here like Kenny and myself. This is a must. Your integrators are going there, and so are your end user customers. And if you are not an integrator yet, but are interested at all, I know we got a lot of other contractors that maybe are not into full-blown integration yet. This is where the future is. This is where you can go and you can get a jump start on what you need to be doing, because you're going to hear exactly what clients are asking for and what they need. You're going to come away understanding exactly what you need to put together a plan.
Well, we're to that point, we're going to have, and this is just a small example, we're going to have the owner operators, Salesforce Tower, San Francisco, tallest building on the West Coast, the Time Warner building in New York, which is part of the Hudson Yards complex, tallest building on the East Coast. We're going to have, the Google campus represented, Microsoft's campus represented. I mean, not that every, project that you work on is of that scale, but if you want to kind of see where the industry is going, you follow the big projects.
Yeah.
Because the technology and ideas that are being developed there are going to be in your small 10,000 square foot office building in your suburb, right? And so you're learning from the people who are really cutting, the new path for this industry, and it's priceless. They'll sit down and have a cup of coffee with you. I mean, you really get to sit with some of these people, and there are no egos at our conference. Everybody's very, very interested in working with each other, collaborating, because we know there's too much for any one person to gather, and you need each other in that collaboration to get through this. So,
well, I just some of the things that appeal to me are the Smart Building Systems Showcase, where they go. The sessions include lighting, HVAC, physical security, IoT, in-building DAS, in-building wireless, voice-activated virtual assistants, location services. So these are the newest emerging trends that are coming into our HVAC world. So our building automation specialists, our systems integrators, to include the master systems integrators, this is the cliff notes on what's happening. And so when you go there and then you get to participate, and you can come back much more ready to not only.
Well, you mentioned out of all those things you mentioned, voice recognition. I mean, in the last 6 months, because of Alexa and all these other, consumer technologies, people are saying, when I walk into the room, I want to say lights on, right? And so now all the equipment manufacturers are, and we're going to have some real examples of this.
Right.
We have a session on it where we're going to demonstrate, major BMS systems being able to be controlled by voice, okay, which is exciting. But we also go one step further. Okay, you're going to instrument all these, pieces of equipment with cameras and microphones and sensors. What happens to the privacy in the building? It's going to be a big topic this year, especially in light of the headlines we've seen this last week with what's going on Facebook.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, Jim. I'm sorry for hopping in, but that is such a fascinating thing. And you wrote an article about that. And I think, and you talked about it last year, and you're going to have another conference on it this year. That's a huge issue. And I think we sort of need to unpack what the issues are for our control trends community. And so they can understand why this is important, how this is going to affect what they do.
So I've been dealing with this for a while. And on this privacy topic, I've been trying to convince Howard to do it for 5 years. And we argue and debate, and I lose the argument. And last year, I kind of pulled the card. I said, we're doing it. And it was the last session of the last day. I thought I'd have 5 people in the room. 100 people showed up, okay, like at 3:00 on Thursday afternoon. And I'm like, I guess you're interested in this topic. So it's this simple. You got a network. Every electrical mechanical device in the building is now attached to that network. Data flows both ways. So now you start putting in sensors. You start putting in other, information gathering devices, if you will, microphones, cameras, all good stuff, okay? However, now that those devices are connected to the network, you get a goofy guy in charge of that building, and he's listening to that conversation by that cute receptionist, okay? And the potential is there. So we better start talking about this stuff now. We need to be authentic. We need to be honest. We need to put these issues out on the table and come up with policy and protocol, because I'm telling you, the technology is there. And will there be people that abuse it? Absolutely. So we better, the good guys better sit in a room and figure out, how do we put this together in a way that, is a productive, efficient, smart building, but it's not one that's spying on you 24 hours a day.
In fact, the article there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, it's a great article, and we're going to be posting it. It's by Jim Young. He wrote it back a while ago, 2017, February.
Well, and that's actually, if we could take 3 minutes, I want to talk about that. Our job is to dig, right? I mean, that's what we do. We're not brilliant. We're not prolific. We're not visionary. We just, while you guys are doing your jobs, we're digging. So, this whole Cambridge Analytica thing, that's been in the news for probably 2 years now, okay? I reference what is on the news right now and is making headlines. Cambridge Analytica, I write about in that article last February. So 14 months ago.
Right.
I don't understand why the general public isn't catching this news and this information, when it's out there. And why did it take 14 months? And that's the same thing in our building automation industry, buildings connecting to networks. This is not new news. And yet people are amazed and astonished as if this is all brand new stuff. And I just wonder why, since we have this thing called the internet, information can go around the world in a split second. Why does it take so many people or so long to find the information pertinent to their business? And we're really trying to figure that out, because we have great information at the conferences, and you could come and learn the most state-of-the-art stuff, but maybe you didn't go to that session, or maybe you didn't read that article. And I think figuring out a way to get people to hone in on this information and focus on it is a big issue in our industry.
Well, I think, Jim, you hit on another sort of fascinating unintended perhaps consequence that we'll have, because with any opportunity there's always the benefits and there's the unintended consequences. And we've read articles about that because it seems like people are more polarized now than they've ever been. And if you think about it, Google really supports, because of the analytics, supports your viewpoint, right? And they've done study after study after study of it, and I think this maybe partially answers your question, but one of them that Kenny and I had talked about on the show once was, I think it was a war in Egypt or something like that. And if you were conservative, your top 10 Google things were about
the pyramids. It was visiting the pyramids.
No, visiting the pyramids was, no, Kenny, it was if you were conservative, it was about terrorism. If you were liberal, it was about something else. If you were neutral, it was, travel.
So when are you guys Facebook users?
Not anymore.
Occasionally, yes, I do. I keep track of my family.
So when Mark Zuckerberg added the 6 or 8 iterations of like, it wasn't just I like it. It was the really big smiley face or the really big grumpy face. Okay, everybody thought it was cute. Basically, from a psychological standpoint, he added 6 to 8 levels of psychological granularity. So they were just fine-tuning how passionate you were, or the psychologist, went crazy when that was done, because you really got to dig into, a person's personality. All of that, in the hands of good guys, I'm not so worried. But you give that level of data. If you take the movies I watch on Netflix, the things I like on Facebook, the things I search on Google, and the things I buy on Amazon, it's over. In fact, I was talking to one guy that says you take that data, apply advanced analytics or artificial intelligence, they can predict your behavior over a 40-year period and basically say, don't bother going to college because you're a loser and you're going to be a loser in 40 years based on these traits.
Listen, Jim, I just want to clarify. What happened was I'd read this in the paper and then I took it to my house. I Googled pyramids. My wife Googled pyramids and my daughter Googled pyramids. And we all got 3 different responses back from Google. I got the most recent terrorist attack. My wife got luxury stays and some sort of a vacation thing. And my daughter got, just, it was a different thing. So it clearly indicated that we Googled the very same subject theme. Yep. We got 3 different responses in the same household at the same time. So that was,
Jim, go ahead. That's what we mean by the age of acceleration. That's our theme this year. This train has left the station, and these smart guys who are sitting in these rooms coming up with these technologies, we have to, and so the guys who are going into these buildings installing systems, they're going to need to be responsible to understand what's going on. Let me give you a real life example. A corporation rents 10,000 square feet in a high profile building in New York. They renovate it. They put their boardroom in there. They buy a lighting system from a manufacturer at the recommendation of a service provider and a consultant. It's installed by an integrator in a building owner who says, this is a smart lighting system and I need to run over the building owner's network. Okay. So you got 6, 7 parties involved in this. Well, turns out the bad guys find the microphone in that lighting system. They tap into a board of directors meeting. Yes, we do still care about privacy. And they steal trade secrets and they put the company out of business. Wow. Who's liable?
Great question.
Well, that reminded me of a story. I used to be in security once upon a time, and one of the case studies we did was a parabolic listening devices where they went from one building to the other. They could hit the boardroom meeting that faced the other building, and they actually did exactly that. And it was a very ugly thing, but anybody had knowledge of the, had a responsibility. It's going to be, somebody will get paid, somebody will be sued, and there will be hell to pay from the people that, the integrator, manufacturer.
The biggest message here, though, is not that particular scenario on privacy or all the new great companies that we're going to have on that exhibit floor at the conference. What this means is things are moving really fast. Yeah. And that integrator, that distributor who's got their business and things are kind of going okay, but they kind of feel like things are changing, it's going to be 2-3 more years before this wave is going to envelop them, right? And so if you're sitting there like hoping I'm going to retire before this happens, or if you've got another 10, 15, 20 years in the industry, you can't avoid this. So now is the time to jump in, get to the conference, get to the integrator roundtable, go to the cyber forum, go to the best practice showcase, go on a couple tours, and really get a sense on where your industry is going. That's the best way I can put it is,
well said,
you really get an idea of where the heck this industry is going.
What surprises me a lot, Jim, is, because, again, Kenny and I come from the traditional building automation side, and, we go to these conferences. I mean, the first one we went to, we saw the Silicon Valley invasion. So what I can tell you wholeheartedly, for our industry people, if you're not showing up, guess what? Other people are showing up that want to come in and eat your lunch. Yeah. So the people.
Well, and you bring up a good point. We talked about a little bit earlier. I can't mention it just yet, but we've got some IT giants, not traditional building automation. We have more IT giants getting into the space, and they'll be there in June. And they look at building automation and smart buildings a little different than has been the traditional methods. And so again, this is not, don't be scared, don't be apprehensive. This is an opportunity. You embrace this, and you're that new next gen master systems integrator in your town, or what new products as a distributor I should be putting on my shelves. It's not life or death. It's actually a great opportunity, but you have to
like Eric said, though, I mean, we actually get to listen to the customers, the end users. These massive portfolios are telling us why things aren't cool anymore, and we don't want to hear you trying to slam down this square peg in this round hole anymore. I mean, so
our tagline is 50 billion square feet of executives representing 50 billion square feet coming, looking for technology, automation, and innovation. I mean, they're not coming to look for tar for the parking lot, or what kind of fertilizer they should use on their landscaping. They are coming specifically looking to how to apply technology to their buildings and get them ready for the 21st century. That's it.
Well, I think Realcomm has changed the way we as distributors. Eric and I went back the first time. The one I remember especially was the drone. It was the first time I saw a drone, and you actually had that on the stage, and it was. It was a wake up. It was like, oh my God, it's real.
Well, we'll be having Prologis, one of the number one industrial companies in the world. We were on the phone with him the other day. They're going to be talking about how they've now are using an outsourced third-party service provider who provides satellite imagery on all of their industrial roofs. And they've applied algorithms, and they basically do digital roof inspections from space. So no more guys jumping on ladders, climbing roofs, walking them.
Wow. Oh, that's
the kind of stuff we talk about.
Well, then last year you go to ControlTalk, you see the video of me interviewing the robots that were walking the floor. So the robots. Yeah. So Jim, I think I know what Mark Zuckerberger's up to with all this data, and I think what he's going to do, in all seriousness, all this Facebook, the likes and all that, they're going to take that, they're going to use that as an algorithm to put in the robots so that we can't tell the difference, because they're going to be just like us, right? Because Facebook, they're going to know all our tendencies, how we think, how we react, and they're going to use that to create the
all
robot.
Kidding aside, go do a little research. Google. There's 2 Facebook executives that one was a founder and another was one of the chief technologists. The one guy really went crazy, and he basically said, we used to sit in rooms, and we had psychologists in the rooms, and we studied the way the synapses fired, and we studied the brain and the release of dopamine. And we literally, our goal was to get you addicted and to keep you on Facebook as many hours as we possibly could so we could get the data we need. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of goofy. Okay. You know, and I don't trust those guys. Now, both of them have left and are now against Facebook. But, you know, when the good guys have the data, it's fine. When the bad guys get the data, we're in trouble. And so we got to make everybody aware. When that integrator installs that system, he needs to know what data is flowing back and forth. It's his responsibility. It's her responsibility.
Right. Oh, Jim, we got an uphill climb. I mean, not to be negative or whatever, but to your point about why people are in these phases and they're slow to adopt, and you know, we're finally getting to an early adopter. We work our tails off trying to get people excited, not only, you know, to take advantage of the technology for their buildings and take first steps, and we've got good, better, best, and but to get people excited about cybersecurity is like talking to a blank wall. I mean, when we
will tell you, I'm part of one of the founding members of an organization called RECC, Real Estate Cyber Consortium. It's been in the makings for about 5 years. It's really starting to take shape. Met in Chicago about a month ago. Had 20 of the top real estate, people, real estate owners in the country, maybe even some people would say the world. So we had the REITs there. We had the mall owners there. We had top universities there. We had top corporations represented. The federal government, the people representing their real estate portfolio were there. They care about cyber. Okay, they are not going to wait for the headline. The message to the integrator community: get educated. The message to the manufacturers: we need you to make some changes. Okay, you're going to see at the Cyber Forum this year, the morning of pre-con, all the work that we've been doing for the last year is going to be presented to the general public. We're engaging the manufacturers. We're engaging NIST. We're engaging the Department of Defense. We're getting this thing together. And if you come in as an integrator and they ask you questions about your skills and capabilities and you don't meet their tests, you are not going to be able to install equipment in their building, period.
I mean, one day they probably lead to a certification that you've had,
exactly.
You know, minimum schooling, minimum whatever, and minimum equipment, and the ability to, foundation level cybersecurity. We just put a post up on a webinar coming up on cybersecurity about the legacy building risk, and just reading that makes me concerned. I mean, in my own world, the best thing I think people can do is get, insurance on your identity insurance, because I mean, if you become picked, if you're selected, there's no, the bad guys are getting so good that if we don't make it harder, and to mention,
it needs,
send them somewhere else, at least have some kind of
everybody needs to be a little paranoid, okay, in a positive kind of way. If you said, hey Kenny, do you mind if I just follow you around all day? I'm just gonna be 3 feet behind you with my tape recorder and camera. I won't bother you. When you go to the bathroom, when you go to your meetings, when you go to, out to dinner with your wife, you don't mind that, do you? Of course you would, right? But data's being collected on a 724, and now that we're going into this next phase of a smart building where we're instrumenting every square inch of a building, with smart systems and sensors, all good, energy efficiency, operational efficiency, engagement, but we better bring these issues out right now before we find somebody hacking a building, either doing harm or stealing our information or spying on us. The technology is certainly capable, right. So we just better make sure we're educated enough to put the policies in place to know what we're doing.
Yeah, because saying you didn't know is no longer going to be a defense.
Not going to work.
It's not going to work. So that is kind of part of the scary stuff, and what I want to encourage our industry, because again, I think a lot of people maybe are staying away because they're afraid, right? And I know Kenny and I were very afraid the first one we went to when when Silicon Valley sort of arrived and so on and so forth. And what we came to realize is that what they're really looking more for is partners. They're going to participate.
You read my mind. You absolutely read my mind.
Yeah.
So think about it. You got these brilliant people in Silicon Valley, coming up with chips and routers and all of these great, general technologies. They want to apply it to building. Guess what they don't have? They don't have domain experience. They don't have domain expertise. They don't know the first thing about a piece of equipment when you open up that control room, okay? they are desperately in need of people who know the business. They want to partner with you. They want you to sell their products. They want to take you globally, right? Because they're doing projects in India and other parts of the world that they don't know what they're doing. So they want partners. This is nothing to be afraid of. This is massive opportunity, probably bigger than anything our industry's ever seen.
Yeah, you should be afraid not to be there.
Well, it's like you said, Jim. I think that the messages are getting out. We're doing everything we can to promote and introduce to some people Realcomm IBCOM. But I think the truth for me is that you have already shaped the way we sell in our business. I mean, by coming to your Realcomm IBCOM conference, we know when we come back to our market areas, we got like a head start on what's going to happen and change. The old traditional ways of doing things are so disrupted that they don't even make sense, but yet people are so locked into that rut. So I think for everybody out there that's listening, really come out here, give it a chance, and you'll come away impressed. You'll be benefited in every way, shape, and form. The networking is another thing too. I've watched people collaborate in sitting next to each other. Where one was Eric, you had an incident where the guy in front of you or behind you was the building owner for one of the buildings in Atlanta.
Yeah, Jim, you'll get a kick out of this. Jonathan Schultz is, I know you know him, and our biggest project in Atlanta, we're sitting behind this guy, and this sort of lets you know the level of commitment, right? There's this guy, he's got the suspenders on. I mean, he's, all dressed up, and Kenny and I are sitting behind him, and we get to talking to him at a break, and he says, "What do you guys do?" And I said, "Well, we're a distributor out of Atlanta." He goes, "Well, what are some of your projects?" I said, "We did the Bank of America building." He goes, "Oh, I own that building." He's the owner of that building, and he is sitting in a cybersecurity breakout session. So, to Kenny's point, I mean, you want to have some credibility with your clients. You come back and you're dealing with the real estate client, and you've heard their boss talk about what their vision is for their buildings, and you're able to bring that information back because it doesn't always filter back down as quickly, or you're in sync with them. You want to talk about differentiating yourself. It's huge. It is.
You can't go into a client offering a service if your client has more knowledge than you do.
And if your clients are going to Realcomm IBCOM, do if you're not going as well. So, So listen, Jim, we got to get you back on. We got to do more of this. And what we'd love to do is maybe we can get you back on, and maybe, I got this new technology.
Let's pick topics. Yeah. We're figuring out what the big trends are. We've been on the phone since January. Yeah. It's becoming pretty apparent what the trends are. Cyber is a big trend. Shortage in our industry of skilled workers is a trend. Understanding how to deal with executive leadership is a trend. Change management is a trend. IT, coming into the industry. You're going to have a few more SKUs on your product line after June because you're going to meet some new people who you've never done business with that are going to be selling into the industry. So, why don't we just pick a topic and then a big topic and lead it into the
and then maybe we can get some others. But I've got one that, Kenny and I have been talking about this for a while, Jim, and I want to put this on your radar because I think this is critical because, again, you mentioned earlier, we're living in a world of 140 characters. Everybody is way, way too busy. And what Kenny and I have been saying for a while, because at the end of the day, somebody has got to sell this stuff, and to sell it, you have to have your messaging down. So what we are saying, the trend we're saying is, if you don't have great technology, you're not even in the conversation. If you don't have great pricing, you're not in the conversation. If you don't have great tech support, you're not in the conversation. Guess what? There are a bunch of people that have that. So what's the differentiator? Kenny and I really think your messaging and being on point is more critical than ever. So we're saying, all things being equal, the person that has the best message and understands is going
the sales pitch, if you will, is turned totally on its head. Okay. Yeah. This is no longer about responding to an RFP or, putting SKUs, on a proposal. This is understanding the big picture. This is understanding the business objectives of the building owner, not just one building, maybe 10 buildings around the world, maybe a campus with 30 buildings where you got to talk about complex networks and fault tolerance and cyber security. You need to know the big picture. And if you're just in there selling a small, particular project, ultimately you'll get taken out by somebody who does understand the big picture.
Well, one of the interesting things we had Ed Merwin on a while ago, and he was saying how the distributors now and different people in the industries, contractors, they have to be that local, champion that goes to these meetings, comes back, filters it for their particular markets, because the people that don't have the opportunity still need that information, and how it's an opportunity for us to go and learn what's available and learn how to make that available in our local areas. Because basically, like Eric said too, there's this situation where these people in certain parts of their career, they just don't have the bandwidth anymore, and they rely on people. If you get time with these people and you have this information, you're armed with the real, because you've sorted it all out, and now you've done the other responsibilities to be able to service your markets and your customers in your particular area. This is how it's done, and this is how it's going to be. This great dissemination is just extraordinary. And
I call it a master's degree in 3-4 days, right?
Yeah.
And we've been talking about a lot of stuff, and maybe somebody, your folks listening say, boy, that's confusing, I don't understand. Let me boil it down to like a real simple one question. Okay, and there's many questions, but this is an example one. Ask yourself, in your company, what percentage of the people you work with have IT skills? Okay, so if you got 10 people in the company, how many IT people do you have on your team? Okay, and if the answer is none, then you really need to be at our conference. Okay, and I think that number should probably be in the 30%. 70% building automation skills, 30% IT, maybe even 35, but it's not zero. Okay, so if you don't know how to configure a building wide area network or a building local area network, if you don't know how to talk about smart edge devices and what information stays in the device and what information goes to the cloud, if you can't talk about cybersecurity from device through communication layer, through edge device, you are not going to be able to compete in this market, right? So you have to have IT skills now to run a systems integrator business. It's just that simple.
Well, Jim, I agree with that. And I think there's other good news. If you're freaking out saying, I'm one of these people that don't, another trend Kenny and I've been tracking for a while is I think Kenny calls co-competition, which basically means you might not be able to be all things to all people, and you might one day be competing with somebody, the next day working with them. And my point being, if you don't have all these skills, guess what? You go to Realcomm, Ibicon, you got companies like Keptus that'll partner with you. Okay, so to your point,
so you are so spot on. And let's start with the premise: as this thing is heating up, and now we're going into the next phase of adoption, there will not be enough qualified people to deliver. Okay, this is not like, oh, I don't have an IT person on my team, I'm out of business. Go find the partner, go find an IT person, because we frankly are just not going to have enough skilled people to design, implement, and then ultimately support these buildings on an ongoing basis. This is not the end of the race. This is the beginning of the race. Yes. If you take the right perspective.
Well said. And I think the thing is the big takeaway, because again, when I first started getting involved in this, it can become overwhelming, and that's not the point. The point is, hey, you have to pay attention. You can't ignore this, but you have options to how to participate. And you know what? But the thing is like, what was that movie I saw with Nicolas Cage? It's like he was a stockbroker or whatever, and he lived in New York City. He said, if I lived in ancient times, I would have been in Rome, because Rome is the Mecca. It's the center of the universe.
John Lennon said that too.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Jim Young. He is the conductor on the IT, the building automation train. It's heading to new exciting places. Jim, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us. Let's get together a couple times before the conference.
Absolutely.
Register. We'll put a link on the site where you can register. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me.
Let's get you guys a code so any of your listeners can get a discounted rate. And I know you do such a great job helping us get this message out. It's a two-way street. We want to do whatever we can to help you guys.
Awesome.
And it's about education, collaboration, and that's what we're doing, and we're encouraging you all to do so.
Yeah. Good deal. Jim Young, Realcomm Ibicon. Thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate you. And check out the site. It's realcommibicon.com, right, Jim?
Well, actually, it's realcomm.com, and then just go up under conferences. You'll see two tabs, one for Realcomm, which is the real estate information management side, And then the IBCon side, they're side by side, same place, same location. But and the funny thing is, it's all blurring. It's all coming together. So in essence, Realcomm and IBCon are one conference, but for right now, they got two different names.
And they can sign up and get your newsletter there too, right? You guys put some great articles.
Weekly advisor, yeah.
Weekly advisor, so definitely do that. Jim, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, guys. You don't know how much we appreciate your work.
Kenny, man, oh, that was great stuff from Jim Young, man. I love listening to him talk, man. You talk about a guy who just, kind of has got all the variables, understands it, sees it, but is able to really pull it together concisely.
We could do one of those Vulcan mind melts with Jim Young. We'd be all better for it, because he's seen, a tremendous, 20 years, number one. Is that, that's a legacy already. That's a huge investment of time and energy, but he's changed our industry. No question about it.
He has. And I tell you what, it's like, I'm going to reach out to Mark Zuckerberg, because they say if you want to, I studied neuro-linguistic programming for a long time, and I won't go into too much detail of that, other than the fact that one of their big things was if you understand how people process information, you can produce similar results. So Mark Zuckerberg, I want to put a bid in on Jim Young's tendencies, his happy faces, his grumpy faces. I want that information. I want to put it on a chip, and I'm going to insert it in my brain so I can be like Jim too.
Oh, okay. I don't think Mark's going to reach out to you, but
he might. The big show up in Toronto this week, the CPMX show. Tell our audience a little bit what that is.
Well, it's the Canadian Mechanical and Plumbing Exposition 2018. I'm on the website, and it looks like it's a fabulous show, very similar to ASHRAE, what we do at the AHR show every year. That Canadians have their version of it. It's the largest trade show for the mechanical industry.
Well, and I tell you what, Kenny's cold enough already, so he couldn't go up there. I'm sure not going to go up there from Atlanta, but we have a new segment. We have our man, Aaron Gorka from Ant Technologies. Aaron is a young gun this year, really innovative guy. He's got a great technology, anttechnologies.com, which basically allows people to track service contractors, to track and do their billing and everything else. But Aaron was kind enough to cover the show for us. He didn't have a camera with him, but we got some audio clips. And he also interviewed some other young guns. As you know, we're trying to attract young people into the industry. And so Aaron sort of reached out, asked them what they liked about the industry. So without further ado, let's listen to Aaron's clip.
Aaron Gorka here, young gun for Control Trends. I'm on my train back to my office in Burlington, Ontario from the CMPX show. I was going to hang around and see if I could get a few more interviews, but sometimes on a Friday you just got to get back to the office, buckle down, and finish your work. It was a pretty good show. I was there every day, 3 days. Did a couple good interviews with some young guns entering the industry. Hung out with Canada Controls, a Cochrane subsidiary, Pro Control, and even ran into Gavin Barrett at Yorkland, unsuspectingly outside of the show, but we had a pretty good chat. Everybody's kind of pumped up about Ant Technologies and what we got going on, which is very, very exciting. I have another young gun here, Lawrence Beauchamp. I'll let him introduce himself.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, Lawrence Beauchamp here from Aero Electronics, and we just finished up a great day at the conference here.
Now, Lawrence, you're new to this industry, the trades and whatnot, and you're learning a lot about the components and the manufacturing side. What's the biggest takeaway you've had in your brief experience so far?
Yeah, I think when you're specifically talking about the HVAC industry, there's just a ton of changes right now, and I think the industry is just on the precipice of the next wave and heading into IoT, which is really what I'm interested in, and coming here today and to see where companies are headed, and how to be able to collect the data, send it to the cloud, and how that can help the end customer. So I think that's what I found most interesting about today and moving forward with this industry.
Yeah, see, we actually locked down with Nate Kerr at Tritium, and we were kind of laughing, and you were talking about this Internet of Things, and we're like, oh yeah, like we've been doing this for years. So how do you think so far about the technologies you've seen, outside of this industry, and how do you think they're gonna collide?
That's not an easy question to answer, but I think really it's about how do you collect the data, but then analyze it intelligently and put it into a form that's useful for your customer or for your own business. And I think that's really it. It's how do you collect the right data, and then what do you do with it? So I think that's the real change, and that's the next frontier, is being able to effectively automate and make things efficient.
So in the end, this is going to be people who do this. I mean, technology's kind of there as a whole, but in the end of it all, it's going to be the people, like contractors, like Aaron, who's my dad's company, or other ones. So you kind of see, I guess that's the next chapter for you, is to see how it's already happening and who's doing it.
Yeah, so I would say that really technology is there to make everyone's job easier, and the people that are implementing and that are on the ground day in, day out, it's just about providing more information to make their job easier, more effective, and really I think that's it, is just empowering people with information moving forward.
Awesome, Lawrence. So I guess, if there's any last thoughts that you have about Aero as a whole. I've learned more recently about them, saw them at KMC's Genius Summit in Chicago. You guys are repping it, and a very big sponsor. You're supplying, Dell Intel with the components that we use every day. So, I mean, yeah, any last comments?
I'd say just on an Aero side, as I mentioned, we are a technology company, and we're really excited about a lot of the different trends we see, especially in the HVAC industry. About being able to help gather data, put it to the cloud, and we want to be there to help those OEMs, contractors get the right technology in their hands, again, to do their job best. So thanks again, Aaron. Appreciate your time.
Very welcome. Interviewing another young gun, Mark Riley. I'll let him introduce himself, and then I'll ask a couple questions.
Thanks, Aaron. Mark Riley here from Trackham. We're located in Brantford, Ontario. We're a Canada company, about 14 years in now, and we do GPS tracking for fleet management companies.
Perfect. Now, Mark, me and you know each other from a long time ago. We went to grade 7 together. You're new in this industry. How have you found, like, working in the trades and the control world, and selling them fleet management as a whole?
There's a lot of positive and negative reviews mixed. Positive, if people want it, they want to get it real quick time. Negative is they have small fleets and they don't really want to track 3 to 5 vehicles, but we always persuade them that there's always another benefit as opposed to knowing where the vehicles are, as such thing as tracking government rebates, lower tax insurance, and timestamps as well.
I kind of run into the same challenge as selling them software to operate their business, but truthfully, I love the small companies with 3 or 4 trucks on the road. They're light, they're easy, they're quick, they're nimble. What would be the main thing you could give to a small young company that would sell them, say, or get them to use a GPS software?
I think the biggest thing for them is ultimate control. They have 3 or 4 trucks on the road. They want to know where they are at all times, how long they've been there for, and consumer relief. So a customer calls in and they want a job done at a certain address. Instead of the dispatcher calling each individual truck, they save time by looking at the map, knowing where they are, and by being linked with a Google API, we're able to do traffic conditions and do directions with time frame and location-based events.
So what we're saying here is even a small contractor is going to get the value to see where it is, and truthfully, it's going to make them better at doing what they do, as they grow.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Perfect. All right, as a whole here, anything you want to leave us on? How's the show been treating you so far?
The show is great. The people are great. I know they offer it every 2 years. I wish they would offer it every year, every month, so we can get together. A bunch of great people here, the exhibitionists and the show people are very friendly, and you can talk to them about anything they want, and they're very open to questions.
Cool. Now, me and you are going to work on some integration so that Ant Technologies and Service Tracker can have your GPS software in it too, right? We're going to add value all over North America.
I think that's a great idea. I think Trackham and Ant Technology will be a great partnership moving forward. So you have the software for your service and the tracking capabilities to know where your workers are.
Right, and partnering as a team, especially in software, is probably better. You do what you do real good, like we do what we do real good, and there's no point trying to imitate, right? It's all about teamwork, isn't it?
That's exactly right, Aaron. I've learned that since grade 7.
Thanks, Mark. Cool. Have a good luck the rest of the show.
Thank you. You too, Aaron.
Thanks so much, Aaron. We appreciate that. Hope we get Aaron on more doing that. And hey, listen, if you want to be an infield reporter for Control Trends, you got a smartphone, you're at an event or seeing something cool, shoot the video footage, send it to me and Kenny, and we'll put it on the show, man. We we'll have reporters all over the planet. So
What's what it's all about, keeping track of the trends and the dynamics of the information and products. If you see something new and cool, an application or whatever, just is there a limit on how long the video should be?
I think 4 to 5 minutes tops. Otherwise, it gets kind of hard to send. But Kenny, give them the Control Trends email address. So if you don't know me and Kenny personally, you can reach out to us at this email address.
Certainly, Eric. It's Control Trends Contact, and so that let me just give you the actual. It's Control Trends Contract, all one word.
Contact.
Yeah, my R slipped in there. Forgive me. Control Trends Contact at gmail.com. All one word. Control Trends Contact at gmail.com.
And I tell you what, whoever sends in the best video report will get 2 tickets to the 2018 Control Trends Awards.
And that's going to be where? In Atlanta?
It's going to be in Atlanta. We're pulling all the stops out this year. But Kenny, I tell you what, we had a couple of posts this week. What do you say we talk about those? And then I got another video coming up.
Well, certainly, Eric. We've the industry just keeps moving on and grooving on. We had a very exciting announcement from EasyIO. Gina Elliott became vice president of EasyIO Americas. So Gina Elliott has joined the EasyIO team, and she will be bringing an amazing litany of career experience through. She's worked in the GTM strategies for emerging technologies. She's worked in IT and OT, and so it gives her the benefit of being, she understands how challenging industries can be. And she got started in the IT OT career as a value-added reseller for converged technologies, IT solutions. So now she's going to be taking over for Mike Morrison and Lim Hoon Chat and EasyIO in North America, actually Americas. So that includes, of course, Canada and Central and South Americas too. So EasyIO is blossoming. We've had an incredible seat in this whole story development because we watched Mike and Lim come from very, very humble origins to grow into a global entity that continues to grow. So they've got Brian Klein now in charge of technical services for North America. They have Gina Elliott, vice president of the Americas. And I think we're going to see a lot more and great things from EasyIO.
I think we are. And Gina Elliott is one of my favorite people, Kenny. Extremely bright woman, very innovative, very creative, very, very dynamic. She gets it. And I think EasyIO is we're going to see some great things out of them. And I think Gina's going to help out a lot. They already have the great products. Mike and the tech support was great. And Lim, and I think with Gina on board, you're going to see them sort of craft a message. And I think EasyIO is going to do some great things.
Well, and Gina was, she's already well recognized in the industry. She won one of the Control Trends Awards for Woman of the Year, co-winner. And, so she's been around the industry enough to make, she already has inroads, and she'll influence a lot of people in the future. So we wish her all the luck.
We do. And here's a Trivial Pursuits question for you, Kenny. What did Gina Elliott go to college to become?
I couldn't imagine, Eric. I don't know.
She got a degree in criminology. She was going to be a warden. So you talk about somebody who understands prisons and how prisons work. Gina, and she's got a publishing company. She is, we've talked about Renaissance men. She is a Renaissance woman. Well, you're speaking of shout outs, since we gave the Control Trends Awards, the Control Trends address out, I'd like to shout out to Richard Reed. He was co-winner of the 2017 Enlightened Consulting Engineer of the Year Award. Richard, I actually have your trophy. It's in my office, but I'd like to get the trophy sent to you, but also we'd love to have you on the show. So reach out to us so we can coordinate that. I think you watch the show and listen to the show, and we'd love to get your perspective and get you on the show. So reach out to us. We'll get you scheduled.
Sounds good. All right, next up we had the Belimo's new globe valve assemblies, greater force and greater flexibility. There's a webinar coming up. It's on Ken's calendars. It's April 4th, 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And, Belimo now offers a full range of NPT pressure compensated globe valves. The new G2 and G3 series with ANSI class 6 leakage, and 100-to-1 rangeability provide accurate modulation at low flow. Belimo globe valve actuators incorporate the multi-function technology, MFT, to allow for the easy and flexible field configuration. So register today and learn more about Belimo's new globe valve assemblies.
They just keep moving, don't they, Kenny? I mean, their technology is so good, it's almost like they could just go ahead and stop and let everybody try to catch up. But they just keep getting better, don't they?
Yeah, I think it's they have the force of focus. When you don't try to be a jack of all trades, it allows you to be a master of a few. And the historic growth that they had with the direct coupled actuators, they changed our industry. I mean, we know the Werner Braun. Werner Braun, he's actually a security guy. Warner Buck, but they both come from that same part of Europe, and they were very, very important people in my life. So, but yeah, Warner Buck, he had a vision that he was going to come to North America and take out the mod motor market, and nobody believed it at first, but he did, and that's why I think too we have a great industry. But some of these people that have that vision, know that they're going to win. They just feel it, and they're determined to just succeed. So they took over the direct coupled actuator market, and then valves. I mean, the thing about the warranties, when you have somebody that feels that confident in their product quality and their product engineering, that they offer warranties that change the industry too, to a 5-year warranty. It's good. The users win. It's a great product, and they have great support. And this is being done by Steve Lopes, project specialist of Globe Valves and Retrofits.
Cool stuff. Well, speaking of innovation, Kenny, something we don't talk a lot about is refrigeration and refrigeration control. And Mike Glenn from Johnson Controls, a guy that I've known for years, he's called on us for years. He's actually with the Penn division of Johnson now, which in Penn is celebrating their 200th anniversary this year. So it's a big deal for them. They've introduced just a marvelous product that can save energy and reduce downtime and have better control. So I recorded this video of Mike demoing this product. So let's roll this and take a look at this product real quick.
Super.
Control I'm here with an old friend, Mike Glenn from Johnson Controls, and Mike's been around the industry for a long time, and you've helped us out a lot with Stromquist and Company over the years. And can't tell you how much we appreciate that. But man, you're with a different division at Johnson now, and you got a product that I think is going to do really, really well. So tell our folks who you're with now and what the product's about.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm with the Penn refrigeration business, and today we're going to talk about the A525, which is our new refrigeration controller for walk-in coolers and freezers, and then also our quick response expansion valve with the precision superheat controller.
Well, so what sort of blew me away about this? I come from the building automation side, as you know, because we worked in the past. And refrigeration, there's a lot of waste that goes on the refrigeration side, and it's kind of complicated. I mean, there's a lot of time to set it up and get it right. And you think something like an expansion valve would be, just kind of, you just put it in and you forget about it. But it's not quite that simple, is it?
No, it isn't. It isn't at all. So this is one of our expansion valves. This size would go up to 5 tons in size here. So what's a little bit different about ours is it has this small controller. Some people like to call it the puck. It's mounted at the outlet of the evaporator, and the pressure transducer is built directly into it. Between the two, you have a wiring harness that connects it together, and that's what's going to control this expansion valve. By using our system here, you're able to significantly cut down the installation time. So a contractor could get the superheat preset, install this, and they're off and running. They don't have to wait for the system to cool down to make adjustments. So it does save a lot of time, and it'll save a lot of money.
Well, I want to look at this one. We got this cool drawing that's sort of up here. And so what we're really talking about is right over here. Here's your expansion valve here. This is where the magic happens. And typically they put a thermostatic valve in. Like you said, if the guy's on site, he's got to wait about an hour and a half for that thing to level out. He's got to get it set right, which can be tricky in and of its own right. So we're talking about replacing this piece right here with your new setup, correct?
That's right, yeah. So what we would do is we would use the electronic expansion valve here, and then the superheat controller would be at the outlet of the evaporator. So it'll go ahead and adjust the valve. And what's so great about it, the reason why we call it the quick response expansion valve, is it has a unique technology, a MEMS technology, that allows it to really quickly open and close the valve. It modulates the refrigerant flow, and that allows us to tightly control the superheat, pull the temperature down quicker, and just control the space better.
Yeah, because I think if you were to put like a monitor on how the typical valves react is kind of like up and down, which basically means you're shocking and unshocking the system over and over again. You guys sort of, when you look at this, it's very, very tight sort of spiral, so very accurate control.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah.
But so what are the advantages of doing it that way?
So, a couple advantages. First of all, by having tighter control over the refrigerant flow, you have tighter control over the temperature in the space. You're able, when you come out of defrost or when the system starts, you're able to pull the temperature down a lot faster. And when you have tighter control over your superheat, you can maximize the use of your evaporator, so you can use more of your space, removing more heat there. So it's fine-tuning your system to make sure you're getting the maximum out of it. Another benefit of it is variable speed compressors are becoming very popular now. So if you have a variable speed compressor, the valve's going to go with the compressor. As you reduce the load on the compressor, the valve's going to reduce too. If you're using a thermostatic expansion valve, you're not going to have that, and it's going to become an inefficient system.
Well, then of course, then you get the bigger valve here. This goes up a little bit more in terms of tonnage. What will this bad boy go up to?
Okay, so this size here will go all the way up to 25 tons. So this size would be 10 to 25 tons, and then this size here is up to 10 tons. So we have two different sizes now. As we fill out the family, we'll go all the way up to 100 tons.
See, I'm a controls guy, so I want to get this data out. I guess the other thing is, when you're putting these in coolers and stuff like that, I mean, you basically got to monitor one way or another your data there, because if the meat cooler gets too warm or for too long, I mean, you could create bacteria and harm people, right?
Right, that's exactly right, yeah.
So how do I get the data out?
Okay, so what we're all able to do too, sure.
I'm going to sit back down.
So what we're also able to do is offer a new controller. This is our A525 temperature control. So this is a solution that would allow you to control all aspects of your walk-in cooler and freezer. So with this, it has Modbus capability. You would be able to directly connect to the expansion valve. You can go into the controller and you can select your refrigerant and select your superheat. So that goes ahead and that simplifies commissioning for the contractor. So all they have to do is install it, and then they're ready to go. Everything else is set in here. So this has either off-cycle defrost or adaptive defrost, which is going to drive energy savings too.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. So defrost basically means if you got, we're talking a lot of controls guys here. Basically if you got a cooler or something like that, you have to run a defrost cycle, usually on a time schedule to keep it from fogging up, right? Which costs energy because you're inducing heat to do that.
Right. So typically what will happen is you'll have it for 20-minute intervals or something like that, 3 or 4 times a day. So that's going to, when you're doing that, like you said, you're introducing heat into the walk-in cooler or freezer. With our adaptive defrost, we have a temperature sensor, and it's going to shorten the defrost cycle if it's not required. Also, it'll lengthen or shorten the interval between defrosts. So if you don't need 4 defrosts in a day, it'll cut it down to 3.
Nice.
So yeah.
Automatically happens. I mean, I know most people have a manual, timer on there, which is another separate piece that you have to maintain and make sure it's working right. So you're taking all those and combining it into one aspect.
That's right. Yeah, bringing it all into one package, and so. There's it's a great little controller there. You're able to keep it in the space. It's a NEMA 4 enclosure, so you're able to keep it into the space. The expansion valves are IP67, so you can have these controllers in the refrigerated space too.
That's very nice. And of course, then, yesterday I want to compliment you guys. We had the big Verisys rollout meeting here in Atlanta, which is heading to a city near you, so definitely you want to check that out. But I can actually take this up to a Verisys or an FX system or pretty much anything I want to. VO can go from Modbus to BACnet and then get to anybody's system.
That's right. This would be what we call a smart equipment model number. So by being a smart equipment model number, Verisys will be programmed so that as soon as this is connected through BACnet, it'll pull all that information up into the Verisys controller. So you'll have visibility of the temperature in your space. You'll be able to see what your superheat is, what your refrigerant is, and how often your defrosts are. Get data as far as how consistent temperature is being held.
Because the code requires that you do that anyway, so you got to do it.
Right.
So this you can either store it in here, which is just a deviation from the norm in here, right? So if it's supposed to be at 35 degrees and it goes off at 35 degrees, you're maintaining the deviations in here for your records. But if you wanted to, you could just take that, pump it right up to a front end system, and there's your reporting.
Exactly. That's right.
I like you, man. I like the way you roll, man. Mike Glenn here, folks, and listen. Penn celebrating a big year for Penn this year.
Yep, coming up on 100 years.
100
yep,
years.
100 years for the Penn brand. We're excited about it. It's going to be a great year to celebrate.
And I think for our control trends community, you really want to know, the OEMs are starting to really adapt this because of the installation costs being less, because of the information it can get out, because of the reliability of it is very unique in that regard. So, If you're a service contractor, you're going to be seeing more of these out there because it's going to start coming in on more equipment. Hey, if you don't see it, be the first to tell your customers about it. They'll thank you for it later. So there you go. And where can you get these? Well, your local Johnson distributor, or if you're Atlanta or Georgia, Stromquist.com. Check it out. We'd love to sell it to you. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, Kenny, we had a couple more posts. Let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Well, the next post, Eric, is a live webinar with two of our favorite people. Building cybersecurity as a legacy, building risk. This will be Thursday, April 12th, 2018, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And Fred Gordy and Ron Victor are going to be doing a joint webinar. It says that it's not just smart buildings, but any commercial building built or renovated in the past 30 years is something you should be worried about. And they're saying about the infrastructure. Before the smart building concept, digital internet-connected control systems such as HVAC, lighting, and elevators have been installed and managed by non-IT persons from architects, engineers, contractors, and property managers. Without IT best practices, much less cybersecurity requirements, there's a significant exposure to life safety risks, equipment failure, productivity loss, network hopping, and brand damage. So Fred Gordy and Ron Victor will be championing the cybersecurity webinar.
That's going to be a heck of a duo right there,
Sure
like
is.
Batman and Robin.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's
I
gonna
mean,
be great. I can't wait to see that. Maybe what we can do is maybe we can even post it afterwards if you can't see it. So we'll see if we can endeavor to do that.
right, and there's a registered now, so just hit that hot button. It'll take you right to the sign up, Iodium sign up, and so it's a joint webinar with Iodium and Intelligent Buildings. So it's going to, like you said, it's two of the top guys in that in that profession, talking very straight stick stuff on how to make things better in whatever environment you're in. But if you're in buildings, you better, like we've said, several times on this show, it's a real.
That and listen, I've got 2 tickets to the 2018 Control Trends Awards. If somebody will send me a photo of Crocodile Dundee Sinclair down in Australia. He's down under, our friend from automatedbuildings.com. We miss you, Crocodile. And send us a photo. We'd like to post it on the website. But with that, Kenny Smyers, I tell you what, man, it's been another great week on Control Talk Now, the Smart Buildings Videocast and Podcast. A special thanks to our guest this week, Jim Young from Realcomm Ibicon. Thank you so much to Aaron Gorka, young gun Aaron Gorka from Ant Technologies for sending his coverage in, and to Mike Glenn from Penn Controls, formerly of Johnson Controls. I guess they're owned by Johnson. So again, thank you for tuning in. Remember, be bold, stay in control, and stay relevant.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. And that's a wrap, big dog.